a discussion with respect to Python, and in this video we are going to discuss about variables. Okay, now what exactly is variables? And here I've also given the entire video outline. So we will first of all introduce, or the topic is introduction to variables. Then we'll be seeing how we can declare and assign variables. Then we'll talk about the naming convention. Then we'll understand variable type. We'll see type checking and conversion, dynamic typing, and finally we'll be seeing a lot of practical examples and common errors. Okay, so all these things will be specifically covered in this video. Okay, now first of all, as usual, let's go with the definition. So variables are fundamental elements in programming used to store data that can be referenced and manipulated in a program. In Python, variables are created when you assign a value to them, and they do not need explicit declaration to reserve memory space. The declaration happens automatically when you assign a value to a variable. Okay, so the best way to give you an example is that, let's say if I define a is equal to 100, so this basically becomes the variable. And always remember, guys, whenever you start a new notebook file, always make sure to select the kernel. Okay, now if I'm going to write a is equal to 100, this basically means that I've created a variable a and I've assigned a value to 100. Okay, now, obviously in my previous video, I've also defined some basic variables and all, and I've assigned some values, let's say string, numerical, integers, floating point, anything, any values you can basically assign. We'll be learning more about it. So first of all, let's go ahead and understanding about declaring and assigning variables. Okay. So here you'll be able to see that, let's say I'm going to define age is equal to 32. I'm going to probably define height is equal to 6 feet or 6.1. That is specifically my height. So I'm writing it down. Height is equal to 6.1. Then let's say name is equal to my name. I will go ahead and define Krish. And then here you can also see that I can also define a Boolean variable. Let's say I will go ahead and define is underscore student. Okay, I will also talk about naming convention. What is the best naming convention of defining a variable? What are the good practices? Everything I'll be discussing about. So let's say I'm going to define a Boolean variable as true, right? We'll learn more about the specific data types in my next video, but here I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so age is equal to 32. This is there, and I've actually written it, right? Now let me quickly go ahead and print it, and this is how we assign a variable, right? We are declaring a variable and we're assigning some values, right? So now let me just go ahead and printing the variables, right? So here you can see. So now first of all, I'm going to print age, right? And this is where I will also show you how you can use different print, how you can display in your console in a different way. So first of all, let's say I want to print age. So age colon, let's say I want to assign this age colon with some value over here. So I will go ahead and define my variable age, right? Similarly, if I go ahead and show you the next print statement here, I'm going to basically write height. Okay. And with respect to this particular height, I am going to define another variable. Let's say this will basically be my height. Another next thing that I'm going to print over here is my name. And here you can probably see that I'm going to basically define my name. And let me just go ahead and write comma, and this will basically be my name, right? So if I want to define all these things, here you can see I'm displaying age is equal to 32, height is equal to 6.1, name is equal to Krish. That basically means, see, when I'm printing, I can also call this particular variable that I have actually defined. Okay. So these are some of the ways. Again, we will be discussing about more different Boolean type, more different data types as we go ahead. And that is how we declare different variables. But just a basic idea for you with respect to the variable declaration. Okay. Now coming to the next one, which is basically called as naming convention. And this is the most important one. Like, how should we name a variable, right? And for this, you really need to know about the naming convention. Some of the important points that I would like to mention over here. Let's say variables name, right? The variable name that we define, right, should be descriptive. Okay. Then the second point that I would like to mention, they must always start with a letter. Okay. So this is the second condition, or it can also start with an underscore. Okay. Underscore, like underscore, this kind of underscore mark, right? And it can contain letters, numbers, and underscore in between, right? In between. But always understand, they must always start with a letter or underscore. And it can contain letters, numbers, and underscores, okay, inside that, okay? And one more thing, very important point, which I have already mentioned. variables names are case sensitive. Okay. This also I've defined it. So these are some of the important naming convention with respect to the variables. Okay. Now let's see some kind of example over here. So first of all, I will just go ahead and write some valid variable name. Okay. So valid variable names. So first valid variable name, I'm going to define it as first underscore name is equal to Krish. Okay. Last underscore name is equal to Nayak, right? So is this a good way of writing a variable? Yes. Does it start with a letter? Yes, it starts with a letter. Can it contain letter, numbers or underscores? Yes, it can contain. So here you can see I am having letters or underscore. I can also put numbers in between, but not in the starting, right? So this is a good way of defining a variable. Okay. So here, this absolutely works fine. Let me show you some invalid variable name. Invalid variable names. Okay. So let's say that I define with a number, right? And if I go ahead and define over here, age is equal to 30. See, I'm getting an error saying that invalid decimal literal, right? So I cannot start with a letter. So this is one way. Okay. The another way is that, can I define something like this? First dash name, right? Can I define like this? First dash name is equal to, let's say, Krish. Can I define like this? Will I get an error? So here you can see, cannot assign to expression here. Maybe you mean double equal to or instead of equal to. So this is not being considered. This symbol is also not being used, right? So obviously this is also an invalid variable name, right? The third invalid variable name, can I use @ and define a name variable, right? So let me just go ahead and check it out. So here I'll just go ahead and write Krish. Will I get an error? It says invalid syntax. Maybe you meant so and so, right? So this is also not a valid variable name. It is an invalid variable name. Okay. And already I have spoken about case sensitive, right? Case sensitivity, right? If I define name is equal to Krish, and let's say I've defined capital name is equal to Nayak, right? Both this are different, right? It is not same, right? If I really want to compare, can I compare like this? Name double equal to capital name. It will be giving false, right? Yes, the values, if it is same, it will give me true. But in short, you can see that these are different identifiers, right? Later on, I can do the comparison operation and I can do it, right? So obviously case sensitivity is also there, right? So this was related to something related to the naming conventions. Okay. Now let me just go ahead and make you understand about some of the variable types. Okay. So we will continue writing the code here itself. So let me just go ahead and write understanding variable types. Okay. Now one thing you need to understand, Python is dynamically typed. Okay. Dynamically typed. What does this mean? This means the type of a variable is determined at runtime. Right? So this is very much important. Okay. And some of the important data types are like int, float, string, and boolean, right? So let's say if I write age equal to 25, right? So when I execute it, during the runtime, it will understand, hey, fine, integer is basically getting assigned. So age is an integer variable, right? And let's say that I will go ahead and define some more variables, right? Let's say height, right? I'm going to basically go ahead and define height. Let's say I'm going to write 6.1. So this is nothing but it is integer. This is nothing but this is float. See how I'm also using the single line comments, right? Let's say if I'm going to define my name, so this will basically be Krish. So this is what? This is nothing but str, the string. And finally, if I go ahead and define is underscore student, this is basically my boolean variable, right? So boolean, I will assign it as true. So this basically becomes my boolean variable. Now, if I go ahead and print the type of any of this, right? Like age. So I'm going to basically get integer. The class will be integer. During the runtime, it is able to understand it. If I go ahead and print what is the type of name, I'm actually going to get string, right? So similarly, you will be able to find out different types, like what classes it basically belongs to. Okay. Now, one more thing, right? Here, I will discuss about one very important point. And understand one thing, guys. Here, I'll be showing some example, but when I go ahead with more different lessons as we go ahead, right? I'll be reusing all these things. Don't think that I'm just going to write for a single time over here, because these all things will again get repeated, okay, with all the different examples. Now let me just go ahead and make you understand about type checking and conversion, okay. Now type checking and conversion, what does this basically mean? Obviously type checking you have known, right? So if I go ahead and write type of height, so that basically means I'm going to get the data type of this height variable, right? So in short, I'm actually getting float over here, right? Now my question rises, can we convert one data type to the other data type? Is it possible? So let me just go and show you. Let's say if I go ahead and write age is equal to 25, right? Now you know that if I go ahead and write print type of age, so what I'm actually going to get, it is an integer, right? But now I am going to perform some type conversion. Type conversion basically means I am going to convert this integer value into a string value, let's say. So if I go ahead and write age underscore str, and if I go and use this str function, right? Str function is what? String, right? This is what is the class that I'm actually getting. Now, if I want to convert this age into string, I can use this str and I can use this age variable over here, right? Now, if I go ahead and write print age underscore str, okay, and after that I will just go ahead and write print type of age underscore str, right? So if I go ahead and execute it, see, initially it was int. Later on, when I printed this age underscore str, here you can probably see that I'm getting 25, okay, but the type of this particular value is string, right? Here you can see string. So this value from integer, it has got converted into strings, okay. Now the question rises, Krish, what all different types of type conversion can I do? Okay, can I do something like this? Can I write age is equal to int string like 25, and can I convert this into int? Let's see, right? Let's see this. So the answer is yes, you are able to convert it, right? So if I go ahead and print the type of int of age, yes, definitely you are able to convert it, right? And here I'm just going to close it. Yes, the class is int. This is fine, but still I will just go ahead and use some more examples. Let's say if I go ahead and write my name is Krish, right? Now can I convert this into an integer? The answer is no, right? Because obviously Krish is a complete sentence, right? If I talk about 25 in string manner, this is basically a numerical value itself, right? So even though it is in a string, I can convert this into an int type. But over here, this is my string, complete string. I cannot just convert this into an integer type or a float type. So here you basically get an error saying that invalid literal for int with base 10, Krish, right? So this is the value that you are able to get it over here, right? Another example, some more example. Let's define some float value, right? So let's say my height is nothing but 6.1, okay? Or let's say 6.0 or 6. Or 5.11, okay? Something, okay? Now, if I go ahead and see the type of height, what exactly it is? It is nothing but float, right? Can I convert this float into an integer? The answer is yes. So if I go ahead and write int and I do the typecasting for this particular height variable, you'll be able to see that I'm able to get 5, right? That basically means it is just going to remove the decimal, right? Can I do the opposite again? Can I again typecast this from int to float again? Yes, I can. And it is going to give my 5.0, right? So 5.11, initially I converted this into an integer. I got 5.0. Then again, I got 5. And then again, I converted that into float. So I got 5.0. So this is some example with respect to the conversion, right? Type checking and conversion. So this is what I really wanted to show you over here. Okay. Now, let me do one thing. Let me talk about one very important concept, which is called as dynamic typing. Okay. And this is probably the most amazing feature in Python. Okay. Let's say I'm going to define a variable 10. Okay. I'm going to define a variable 10. Okay. Now let me just go ahead and write print var. I'm going to print this var, and I'm going to also print type of var. Okay. Type of var. Perfect. So this initially is an integer. Then obviously it should give 10. It should display 10 and it should say that, hey, it is an integer. Now, Python allows the type of a variable to change as the program executes, right? So let me write down this particular comment. Python allows the type of a variable to change as the program executes, right? Amazing, right? Now what does this basically mean? Now I can go ahead and change the value of var and I can write hello, okay? And let's say I'm going to print var comma type of var, okay? This time obviously you know what it will be output, it will be string. If you're not satisfied with this, again you can change. So as you keep on executing the code, you can keep on changing it. Let's say now this time I define it as a float variable. Now if I go ahead and write print var, okay, var comma type of var. So if I go ahead and execute this, here you'll be able to see that I'm able to get this, right? So see, initially it was 10, class int, hello, class str, and finally 3.14, class is float. So what is basically happening? Python is allowing this type of a variable to change as the program gets executed, right? So we can basically do this, okay? Now, let's do one amazing thing. Let's just create a simple application with whatever things we have specifically learned, okay? And before that, let me just talk about input, okay? Now, what exactly is input? Let's say that a user wants to give some values, right? Let's say age, and I've told that, hey, user, you give the value. What is the age? Okay. What is the age? So I am a user. I want to probably give the value over here. So if I use this, right, input function, and if I print age over here, see what will happen. So once I execute this statement, now see what will happen. So here you can see a input box has got opened. So here I'm just going to give my age. Let's say the age is 23. Okay. And I'm going to press enter. So here you can see I'm printing the age. Now, one very important thing to show you, right? What will be the type of this age? Okay. So that basically means whenever I'm giving any input from this particular input box, by using this input function, what will be the type of it? By default type. So here I'm going to go ahead and write 23. And here you can see it is a string type. So let's say I want to probably get this particular input and then also convert this into an integer or float. So I can again typecast this entire thing, right? So now if I go ahead and execute this, now let me just go ahead and write 23 and press enter. So here you can see I'm getting a class int, right? So this is one very important functionality for the entire input function over here. And this can be very handy and can be used in various places. Okay. So I hope you are able to execute this and you are able to understand this. So I'm just going to show you one example again. Now let us do one thing. Let us simply create one simple calculator. Okay. Now this simple calculator will be amazing. So here you can just see that what this calculator is doing. I'm giving two numbers. Again, I'm using this input, number one, again, number two, then sum, I'm doing num1 plus num2, difference num1 minus num2, and product is num1 multiplied by num2, num1 divided by num2. We'll discuss more about these operators as we go ahead. And we're just going to display all the sum, difference and all. So let's go execute it. Let's say the first number is 56. I'll go ahead and press enter. Again, I've got my another cell. Let's say I'm going to write 43 or 10 something and press enter. So here you can see I'm able to see all the ounces like sum, difference, product and quotient, right? So yes, this was amazing. This was, I guess you are able to understand many things about variables. This was it from my side. In the next video, I am going to probably discuss more about data types and then also be discussing about operators. What are types also we need to discuss about. So yes, this was it for my side.